Now, what Aristotle gives us is an analysis of the language of predication, and by conducting this analysis of how predication works, he's going to show us what goes wrong, or what went wrong, with the Middle Period theory of forms. Okay, and this occurs in one of Aristotle's works called The Categories. And kategoria in Greek is just another word for predication. And so you can think of Aristotle's Categories as Aristotle's work on predication. Now, the first thing that Aristotle notices is that when we talk about ante rem universals, Platonic forms, it seems like the only sort of predication that's ruled in court is univocal predication, or kind of one-to-one matching. So pipe matches up with the form of pipe, and that's just it. But predication isn't always univocal. Sometimes predication comes from the name of a thing. So for example, if you bend the rules in golf, you're taking a mulligan, and presumably mulligan was some very notorious golf cheat in the distant past. Or we might say, here's a Phillips screwdriver. It's a Phillips named after some guy named Phillips. Or Dodge cars are named after the Dodge brothers. What's that parked out there? Well, that's a Dodge. Why is it a Dodge? Well, it's named after the Dodge brothers. So that's paronymus predication. Then we have those instances of predication that are homonymous or equivocal. So for example, if we take a picture and you say, hey, what's that? And I say, well, it's some grapes. Well, it's not really some grapes, it's a picture of grapes. And so there's a kind of mapping, but it's not a one-to-one matchup. Okay, so John Finnis sometimes calls this focal meaning. Now, sometimes we can talk about a kind of overlap that's not absolute. So what have we got here? We've got a screwdriver, it's a standard. What have we got here? Screwdriver, it's a Phillips. What are they? Screwdrivers. So there's an overlap, but not a perfect overlap. And finally, when we think about predication, we see that some predicates pick out an essential feature of a thing, and other predicates pick out accidental features of things. So for example, we might say, Bernie Sanders is human. Substance, or subject, Bernie Sanders. Predicate is human. And human is an essential feature of Bernie Sanders. Take that away, you no longer have Bernie. On the other hand, we might say something like, Bernie Sanders is a rumpled person. And rumpled is accidental. Take the rumpledness away, and we still have Bernie, although perhaps a hardly recognizable version of the Vermont firebrand. So, what's up, says Aristotle? What's going on? Why does Plato have problems with non-material causation? Why does Plato have problems with the third man regress? And his answer is that Plato identified the predicate position. Plato identified the predicate position with being, rather than identifying the subject position with being. And so what changes? Well, in Aristotle, the basic subject, the thing in the subject position, is the substance, and it's non-predicable. So in Aristotle, a primary substance is a non-predicable predicate receiver. And then we have the range of predicates that modify the subject. So Bernie is rumpled, accidental predicate. Bernie is human, essential predicate. So basic subjects are non-predicable predicate receivers. And so we have a solution to the third man. If substances in their truest and most basic sense are non-predicable, no regress is possible. And then secondly, if predicates are attributes of subjects, or predicates are attributes of other one over many terms, then predicates are not nouns at all, but adjectives. And so we don't have an infinite regress of beings at that point. And so we have a new idea of what a good definition is going to look like. Genus and difference terms in Aristotle have to express essential features of a thing. So if we say, Bernie Sanders is a human being, the predicate is a human being expresses an essential feature of Bernie. And if we're going to identify human being as, for example, an animal capable of laughter, that's Thomas Aquinas' definition of human being, an animal capable of laughter, the defined term is the subject place, human being, and animal is the genus term, and capable of laughter. And these are all essential features of human being. And so that's a good definition. And this leads us to the first known account of a college prank. Now, at Plato's school, the Academy, they didn't make a distinction between essential and accidental predicates. And so featherless biped was a perfectly good definition of human being. But at Aristotle's school, the Lyceum, they held that accidental features like featherless didn't belong in a good genus difference definition. And so some joker from the Lyceum threw a plucked chicken over the wall at the Academy. And the idea was, well, one of your people seems to have wandered off, but we brought him back to you. So a few years ago, I visited the site of Aristotle's Lyceum, took some pictures and picked up some ambient audio. And let's conclude with that.